But we're happy to welcome in Will Z. Will,
Yeah.
everybody is familiar with Will Z and Will Z stats and the tremendous stuff that he does on social media. Will Z has started previewing Kings games by the numbers in Will's own unique way of looking forward to Kings games. And he started to lay these articles out, and it's like, Will, you've called the radio show before. Why don't we just do a segment on game day where we dive into all of these numbers, man? So we're happy that you're here making your first like official visit on the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's nice to be here.
Absolutely.
And what you've done,
We'll
by
see
the
him.
way,
I was just gonna say we'll see in the house.
I'm glad you found the air horns over there on the board. What you've done with your Twitter account and Will Z stats and all that, dude, it's awesome. Like, you went from just creating a couple of things for me and Kenny, you know, just as for fun to building it into like you're like Stats Inc. Like they're hitting Will Z up for Kings notes, and you're a fixture on pre and post game shows. Man, that's awesome.
I couldn't have done it without your help. So, and Morgan has always been, and Deuce, all the local people came together and just kind of accepted me and brought me into the team.
Well, on top of that, the information is good and vital. You know what I mean? Like, it's extremely helpful to us, but just as fans and people who watch the game that want to know more inside the numbers. I mean, you know, the breakdowns that you have and the nuggets that you have, I mean, they're helpful for understanding what we're watching and with this team, a good team, what to make of it number wise and some of the things that they're doing number wise. And with that, I want to start off with the defense, Will, because some people, and I get it. Like I told Jason Jones last night, I got two eyes too. I see the scores. I see people on the other team getting buckets. They need to play better defense. Absolutely, if they want to take this thing to another level. But the other day, it wasn't that many games ago when you said there are certain things within the numbers that, you know, they don't tell the whole story. I wish they tell the whole story. What are you still seeing those things after, you know, about 2 or 3 games since you talked about that, or has the defense gotten worse as of late?
No, it's actually been about the same, if not better, in certain circumstances. So I think we talked about previously, like the two main things that stood out to me are second chance points and fast break points. Kings are second least opponent fast break points allowed at 10.8, and they're at fourth least for second chance points at 11.5. So it's just the little things, and I should probably do an article where I kind of look into how all the little changes add up. But it's just like, it doesn't seem like a big deal dropping from 14 second chance points to 10. It's just 4 points. But when you add those up with 6 different categories, it's going to add up to a lot of points over the course of a game.
Well, when I was reading your article this morning over on ESPN1320.net, there was a stat that really, really stood out to me. And it wasn't but 5 minutes later that you noted on Twitter, this is your swing stat of the night. That offensive rebounding stat is absolutely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I like to find, I call them swing stats, something that the opposing team is really either good or bad at, and the Kings are the opposite end. So for tonight, the Grizzlies lead the league in offensive rebounds and second chance points, but the Kings are the best in limiting those. So for me, it's if the Grizzlies are going to have their kind of typical game, they're probably going to have a good game. If the Kings have their typical good game and limit the offensive boards, then that gives them the advantage, or are they going to meet in the middle? So it's just kind of my main thing that I'll kind of be keeping an eye on. We have 2 trends. They're going in separate directions. What's going to happen with them?
One of the things that I've been trying to think about, because like I said, I see what everybody else sees. I'm watching the game. It give up 127 to Detroit. I mean, we would like for that not to be the case. Okay, not 127. But one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is if their defense is bad, in those situations? Has it been that bad? Or is 127 to Detroit a little bit of a product of the way they play? And I know, pace has been overused in this city for years at this point. But I mean, it's kind of a real thing with the fact that they are the highest scoring offense in the league. They're putting up 120, 122 points a game. It'd be great if they gave up 80, but that's not what they're going to do. Like the way they play, the other team is going to score points. So do you think 127 against Detroit or 112 from San Antonio, is that a virtue of bad defense, or is it a little bit more of the way and the style of play of the Kings?
Maybe just a mix of both a little bit. I think that defensive rating kind of accounts for pace. So when it's calculated, they do it on a possession basis compared to just straight up points per game. But I think just because the pace is a little faster, maybe players can get in more of a rhythm, get more shots up. I don't know, Kenny, when you played, did you find that in quicker games, did you have more of a kind of rhythm in quicker games than games that were a little bit slower?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a team that we played, and this is like, this is the complete other end of the spectrum, but a team, University of Redlands, or Redlands University, right? And they were like famous nationally for having like games that were like in college, like 150 to 142, right? Like all they did, they literally didn't care about defense. They were just about getting threes up and getting shots up. And we played them twice. And the first game we played them, my junior year, that brand of game, it kind of caught us off guard. Like we were scoring, we were getting buckets too, but it was like, man, they just didn't stop, and it caught us off guard. We saw them again the next year, and we beat them by like 30 because we were able to calm down just a little bit in those situations, focus on what we had to do. We knew we were going to eat on the offensive end, but we played defense a little bit better, and we were able to shut it down. So to answer your question, when you know that's the type of game you're going to be in, you absolutely feel good about yourself because you don't even stress over missing a shot because I'm gonna get another good look. That's no big deal. So I think that type of pace lends itself to the other team feeling real good about themselves, feeling real comfortable. And the Kings' job is going to be to let them know, like, hey, yeah, we play with a high octane pace, but you're still going to have to work for your stuff on the defensive end or on offense.
Yeah, love that. And in the article for today's game, I was writing how the Kings shut it down on defense when it matters has been over the 6-game winning streak compared to the first 4 games. They didn't really have that capability, but in the last 6 games, they're winning the fourth quarter by 4.7 points, which the Pelicans on the season are winning the fourth quarter by the most at 4.1. So the Kings have just been pretty much the best fourth quarter team in the league the last 6 games. So when they need to, they can flip that switch. For me, the question will be, can they kind of get to a point where they don't have to do it so late in the game? Can they start out with that defensive intensity? I don't know why it takes them so long to kind of buckle down, but there's some good stuff in the fourth that we've been seeing.
It's weird because it does feel like they go from, 0 to 10 really quickly on the defensive end. And there's enough of a sample size to say this team is very, very capable on the defensive end. We've seen it a lot during the 6-game winning streak, but you're right. It feels like it takes a Detroit Pistons, a low-scoring team, to get really hot for 3+ quarters before that happens. Same thing happened with Los Angeles. The Lakers got super comfortable in something that they hadn't done all year. They got comfortable behind the arc. They got comfortable shooting. And then it took another 0 to 10 on the defensive end performance. Hell, maybe start at 5. Maybe you don't have to start at 10. Maybe you just start at 4 or 5 and play defense there. Because again, it is fascinating to watch. They're capable. We see it. We see it regularly now. We've seen it through the bulk of these 14 games, but we all see it like clockwork. We all know, all right, if the Kings get in a shootout tonight, and we talk about litmus tests. Kings get in a shootout tonight, or they get into a back and forth game with Memphis. Well, Memphis isn't going to fold. So are you going to be able to step up enough on the defensive end to beat a really good team? Not a poor shooting Lakers team that got hot, not a low scoring Pistons team that got hot, but a really good Memphis Grizzlies team.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see with Bane out too. I mean, Bane just destroyed the Kings last game, but
I think Bane destroys the Kings regularly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will not be sad to not see him play tonight.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys saw, but did another stat in the article for how the Kings are contesting 3-pointers and compared to the 3-pointers that they're getting. So the Kings have shot like 569 threes on the year. 534 of those threes, 93.8%, have been open or wide open. So,
wow.
Like you guys have been saying, they get good looks. I think I was trying to listen to the show a little from yesterday. How Monk can get wide open shots. It's their offense is just that good. They get wide open looks consistently, and they don't take bad looks.
Yeah, I think that was our argument about Kevin Huerter. Like everyone's, Kevin Huerter can't possibly maintain this. Why not?
Yeah,
he hasn't taken a bad shot all year.
He's shooting wide open shots.
Yeah, it's target practice for him.
Yeah. And then Kings opponents are getting 79.1% of their threes are open or wide open. So there's about a 14% discrepancy in contested threes there that over a course of a game, that's going to make a big difference. And we saw it with the Pistons. They were shooting like 60% throughout 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Are they going to be able to keep that up? Some teams maybe, but odds are, can a team have a perfect offensive game to beat the Kings? And it's getting to the point where maybe they need to kind of be perfect on offense to beat them.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that, I keep bringing up. And trust me, I don't want to live like this. Okay. I want to see defense. I want to make that perfectly clear. I want to see defense. Though one of the things that I'm starting to ask every time is, can these guys keep up offensively? Not the Kings, their opponent. Like, because the Kings are putting up 120. They putting up 125. You're not great yourself on the defensive end. They'll go 130 on you, right? Can you keep up? And right now, these teams haven't been able to keep up more times than not. You guys talked about going 0 to 10, and some of that we've seen numerous times this year. Think back to the first Miami game, and I don't know the specific numbers, but how they closed out that game getting stops. You talk about the Warriors game that they won. They closed out that game getting stops. Cleveland closed out that game getting stopped. We saw it with Detroit close out that game. Against San Antonio, that whole fourth quarter, really, they started to step up and play on the defensive end. And they kept scoring. That's the thing. They're going to keep scoring. Can you keep up when the Kings step up their defensive intensity? And so far, it's clearly not impossible, but it's tough for everybody right now to be able to keep up.
Well, one last note. Harrison Barnes has been marvelous over these 6 games. You tweeted this just before the show started, and this is for people like James Ham and Kenny Caraway who are shopping Harrison Barnes, and KZ Okpala should be starting, and all of these just outrageous takes regarding Harrison Barnes. But he's been really, really good during this stretch, Will.
Yep, 16.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 2.7 assists, 1.2 steals, half a turnover, and he's getting to the line 6.2 times a game, shooting 61, 42, 89 splits. He's not doing it with the volume that he has shooting. I think he's at like 3.2 3-point attempts per game or something like that. The volume isn't there. But I think with the team that's around him, I don't think it needs to be. And his skills, you guys have said it. James says it a lot. He can slow down the tempo, get to the line. That's really shown in the last few games with those 6 free throws per game. And he's just doing so many little things, especially on offense. I haven't looked at defensive numbers are tough individually. But he's doing everything that you can ask for on offense in that maybe more limited role in terms of volume that you'd want. And if he's your fourth, fifth option and is hitting it at those percentages, I don't think it's a coincidence that right when he kind of took off is when the winning streak started.
Yeah.
It's great stuff, Will. We appreciate you as always, man. You're one of the highlights of Kings games. We're looking forward to see what numbers you throw at us tonight. Thank you, my brother.
Appreciate it, guys.